You know, like I used to have a teacher who used to always put us down. But how would you dare put your face into my classroom? How do you scum of the earth? You're coming in to come to my classroom, try to learn from you and talk down to us like that all the time. That's normal for my teachers. I have sat in Blue in the 12th, but I run into these obstacles out there. But even our interactions with parents, we have our personal take, and then there's the outer world around us. If you have violent parents, you got to think about it. If you don't, you're not. Different attitudes setting up. But this thinking quadrant is no longer intuitive. You're actually interreacting, and things are good or bad or fair or not fair. People are stronger or weaker. You're fitting in, you're not fitting in. You have friends, you don't have friends. There's peer pressure. You're teased or not. You're putting out, and you're making an impression, or you're not. Boy, you think, hey guys, I'm all here, and nobody's paying attention to. Huge. The stymieing or the shunning of a group to an individual. New kid in the class, somebody changed the school, and if she's going out to school and nobody's talking to her, wow, she's trying to think how to belong, and can be very intimidating. Of how do you project to fit into systems that's already there that you never belonged to before? Puzzle every day. Thinking about what I'm putting out, who it's affecting, friends, or making friends or enemies, putting out with confidence or doubt, making friends or enemies, or fears or blocks, and accomplishing things or not accomplishing things. Then we get to the middle, and that's our peak of status. We see what we've done and what we haven't done. So it takes some education to build up some level of depth and some functional capacity to achieve things. For a person to achieve things, you have to project in certain ways. So that's why if you're positive and you're projecting positive, it's going to have the best influence on people. But if it's not really honest, you're not going to attract honest people. So even be projecting positive thoughts, it's important that they're real to you, that you believe in them. If you're just faking it, it's just you're a used car salesman, for example, although I know some. Anyways, that's when you get to the status and you see what you accomplish. So that breaks up the rising side to intuitive, subjective, and thinking. Thinking is objective. You're thinking about this, thinking about that, wondering about how it's affecting. So it's a rational thing, even though it's happening inside you. It's still a rational thing. You're measuring things outwardly. You're assessing things. It's an objectifying process. Okay, when we look to the setting side, it's going for you accomplish what you have. You see the status of it. You see who's in authority, who's not, or you are, or you're not. You're living up to it, or you're not. Other people are living up to it, or not. And you start having the sensation that other people, because of the status you're at, you might be in this status. You might be high up in the community and going to church, and you're going to meet people with that right beliefs, and they're going to align with certain resources. And you marry someone who's aligned up to that. You're going to fit in. Well, if you don't fit in, if the system isn't that good, or you're not fitting in, you're going to have difficulties with different understandings. You're going to have difficulty with resources and sharing with other people. And you're going to have difficulty finding the partner that's similarly aligned. Or there can be expectations of if one person is more together than the other, more social than the other, more interactive than the other, who's leading, which way is it go? Challenges around relationships, just functional challenges. If you're a subjective person, you're expecting your partner to just be at home with you and not want to go out anywhere, you're going to handicap your relationship. If you're out all the time and never have any time at home, that's another type of handicap. So our individual biases impose ourselves on the whole neutrality or balance of this whole thing. That's the beauty of these symbols with the Chinese symbols, the solid and broken lines, the yin and yang. They're always balanced. Where there's two solid, the opposite side, there's two broken. Where there's a solid and a broken, the opposite side with broken. They're always balanced around the circle, neutral around the circle. They get accentuated when one side gets accentuated or more than the other by where your planets are. Boom. Then you have that complex or that bias or that accentuation in your matrix. So the sensation is reacting to others. And this is just adjusting, oh, I got to call so-and-so, I didn't do this, I got to take care of this, I promised to do this, It's into reacting to people. I got good feedback, they want me to do this, I'm going to do this. It's all the busyness you have to do because of who you know and what you're doing. It doesn't, when it gets, that's between thinking what you're going to do and reacting, the sensation, there should be sensibility really, the sensation to others. Thinking, you're not being sensitive, you're thinking about how you're going to affect others. Sensing, you're sensing what other people think and what they're doing, and you're not thinking so much, you're reacting, you're sensing things. But the minute that sensation becomes less than functional, people say, well, they need this, they didn't get that. I got more money, they don't. Let's make a trade-off, let's balance this off. That's in the sense, as soon as it becomes, it crosses the descendant, it goes from objective to subjective. It goes from sensation, thinking and sensation and logic and practical sensitivity and making adjustments and sharing things and making adjustments to taking it personal. As soon as you take it personal, you hurt my feelings. It's no longer in the functional world. It's demanding more attention from me. I'm the kid. You need to help me. I've got my feelings hurt. You did it to me. How could you do this to me, you bitch, or your horrible husband, or whatever? Like, how could you do this? And it's not how you do it. It's me that's taking it personally, because usually I'm not coping or something's happening out there, and I'm not aligned properly. I don't feel good about this. I don't feel right about this. And so we get this negative feeling coming in. Or positively, if you're a kid at school, you're going to school, you've done your homework, you're thinking about who you know, you're in school, and the teacher's good to you or bad to you, and you come back and somebody bullies you, or the teacher was mean to you, or something didn't happen, then you're going to feel bad about it. But if the teacher was supportive of you, and the friends were supportive, you come back and you're feeling great, you come home pumped, because you feel good. You've got feedback, and it's positive feeling. You feel positive about your feedback. But when you feel negative about your feedback, boy, we have all the depressed feelings, all the inhibitions, all the reactions. What's fair, what's not? I'm not being included. I'm not being included. And the feeling fights the thinking. The feeling, the strong feelings will interfere with clear thinking. Strong thinking will block out personal feelings. So just like intuition and sensation, personal intuitions dissolve in the face of having to be sensitive in 2 or 3 other people, the things that happen in your own alone, and not when you're interacting to everybody. They're not things you necessarily talk about. But this feeling side, you take it personally. It's when you get good feedback, when anybody does, it's easy to study from someone and be a good student if you're getting positive feedback. If you're not, whoa, it's easy to feel totally isolated, ostracized, cut off from everybody, and you may as well go back into a cave. Your IC. You may hide away from it, but you can't. In your night's sleep, you have your dreams, you have your feelings, you have what you projected, you have what reacted, you have the balance sheet coming in your irrational soul, in your inner being. And these things play out. And whatever you haven't dealt with one day, if something bothers you so badly, it really upsets you, then it will spin off an effect into the next day. So when you start messing with feelings, when someone who's really indulging with feelings expects all attention, they're like high maintenance people, because they're always having to think of their feeling. No matter what the role is, you have to make their personal feelings. Or it's, hey, look at me. Or a lot of musicians know how to work a stage, and they look at all the people and they know how to get the attention. They can feel how they can perform to get the attention of everybody, not to have the interaction of everybody. That's a distance, but to get the attention, to pass on there, to feel other people responded to them. Because if you're playing in a performance and nobody's listening, someone's talking out, it's going to upset your feelings, which again will hit your personal subjective motivation and challenge your integrity, how you're going to deal with it or not deal with it, which is in turn going to affect how you project your intuitions and how you start the next day and what you're going out thinking about and what you try and do the next day. So there's very worldly views, and it evolves through experience to be more and more qualified, evolving from a gross world of power and struggles to a more refined world of light and consciousness, or ignorance. Okay, we're doing, yeah. So I find these quadrants distinctly more valuable than the individual houses, but the individual houses are within these areas. So the first, second, third house will be intuitive. The fourth, fifth, sixth will be feeling, taking things in. The 12th, 11th, 10th is how you're projecting and thinking about. The sensation is how you're reacting to other people, their resources, their understanding. So you could look at this as the instigative subjective. The rising side is the instigative side. The half below the rise, instigating subjective, subjective instigation. That's intuition. I know. That's me. I gotta. It's not fitting in, but I can sense it. The instigative objective is the thinking. I'm being objective. I can see this. I see what I got to do. If I do this, I can do that. Is building up the strategies, the plans, the thinking of how to get from me to accomplish something. Whether it's getting to the store, whether it's buying something, whether it's achieving something, whether it's finding a career, whether it's getting recognition, getting acknowledgement, impressing other people. That's the instigative objective. Objective instigation, which is the thinking. The reactive side, you have two types of reactive side. You have sensation is objective reaction. You touch me, that's nice. You hit me, that's not nice. It's give and take what's being done. Objectively, we can measure that. There's a certain amount of give and take in a relationship that can be measured. But can't be measured if somebody's taking it personal. But you don't have to be personal to maintain a relationship. That's objective. But each person has to feel secure and feel personal for that relation to survive very long. Can't just be the dumping ground for negative feelings. So the objective reaction, reactive objective, is the sensation. We're reacting objectively. Hot, cold, wet, dry, it's objective. I mean, no, it's raining out. Let's get into these reactions. But the reactive subjective reaction, taking, he's taking a person, he hurt his feelings. Oh, you pumped the guy up, now you encouraged him, he's going to go and he's never going to stop. Some people too arrogant, they just keep pumped up. Like subjective reaction, will you give a Leo a microphone at a wedding? If you do, the Leos are going to talk for a long time. Once they have a microphone, they're not going to give a short thing and get on with the next thing. They're going to go on and on because they're getting the attention. But this process of project, this is a beautiful mandala. It's a beautiful matrix. And all of our astrology, we're coming in and out of understanding this in different phases, different times, different ages, different places, different ways, different balances. We're going to experience all of these sides in an imbalanced way, and eventually at times we're going to get them in balanced ways. And how do we integrate them all? That takes more maturity. That's like you're having to be a disciple or an initiate to be able to understand how to integrate all of these things. It's easy to say, oh, that person's always thinking, or they're always reacting, or they're always into their own feelings, they never see anything else. And that's partly what we have, all of them, and they build up to it. That person is always feeling, sooner or later will be caught in a situation where having to be somewhat objective, or they're going to hide away. Which will build up. If you be too much in one way, it'll build up complications and struggles with the other. So what we've done with the thinking quadrant, we're going to divide it into two halves. Each quadrant divides in half. So the first fights the rising settings like father and mother. Then we have each one has a mother and father. So there's an intuitive and thinking and a sensation. So there's 4 grandparents. There's 8 great grandparents. So there's 8 divisions of the cycle. It's just common between. There's the midway point between the identity and the power in the thinking quadrant. There's a midway point in the intuition, between the IC motivation and the personal identity. There's a midway point between the status and your relationships. There's a midway point between your relationships and your motivation. So each of these, the points are one thing, that's what we measure, but between these points are phases that fit in. We've always seen the intuition, feeling, sensation, and intuition, thinking, sensation, and feeling phases. Now each of these phases have 2 halves, have 2 sides.